Hello everyone, this is the New World Gamer. I hope your day is going well, and today I'm going to be doing another video. This time it's something a little bit different than what I usually do, more of a categorical video. It's going to be of my top 5 most anticipated horror games of late 2014 leading into 2015, because a lot of the titles I'm going to be mentioning are going to be coming out in 2015. Unfortunately, we have to wait a couple of months, but there is one title that I will get to that is going to be coming out very, very soon. And without further ado, let's go. So let's start off with my top 5 games to look out for. And this is going to go from top 5 to number 1 position. First off, Dying Light. This is going to come out in 2015. It looks more like a mixture of Dead Island coupled with sort of a parkour type gaming style where you're usually running around. Really, you don't have too many weapons laying around, and you usually just have to outrun the zombies and find ways to get around them. So not really too much emphasis on killing the zombies. Of course, I think there is ways to kill zombies in the game, but you're mostly just trying to outrun them and not even try to get near them if possible. Out of the short footage that I've seen, it looks very fun, very exciting. There's going to be 4-player co-op. It's definitely a game I'm looking forward to. I'm either going to get it on the PC, which I'm kind of leaning more towards, or venture out and perhaps get it for the PS4. I don't know yet. But that is the 5th game on the list. 4th game is probably a title that is a little bit more mainstream, I should say. It's just a tad bit, and you kind of sense the sarcasm there. But it was one of the most popular downloadable demos in recent months. It is Silent Hills. Now, my history with Silent Hill, the franchise, is a pretty long one. I basically played the first 3 games, and I've seen the 2 movies, if that counts, even though the second movie was really bad. But this demo that I played I downloaded the demo, the PS4 demo. It was really exciting. I hope the game will follow sort of the first-person perspective, because that was really frightening to play through. And I actually got scared playing that game, which is something that rarely happens. But I was actually really scared to get through the demo. Of course, I never completed the demo. I know. I should complete the demo, but hey, I still like the game. The amount of time that I dedicated towards playing it in the demo-wise, it was more than enough to make me feel that I will be buying this game once it comes out. Unfortunately, there really isn't a date yet for the release of the game, so I'm assuming it's going to be in 2015, hopefully. I know that there's a humongous amount of effort to get to sort of popularize and bring back Silent Hill. Of course, I would say Silent Hill is a series that is mainstream to a certain extent, not nearly as much as Resident Evil, but I will say that I'm a fan and I'm looking very forward to playing the full game of Silent Hills, which is kind of a weird name, and I don't know if they're going to stick with it, but regardless, I'm anticipating this game very, very much. Now we go on to number 3 on my list. And this is a title that's going to be for the PS4. And some players, individuals, critics might argue that this particular game, based off the footage that we've seen so far that has been released, is more of an action game more than a horror game. And this title is The Order 1886. Now, this is a title that takes place in the alternate historical boundaries of Europe, and you basically play as a squad that has to fight what is known as half-breeds, which are kind of, from what I'm guessing now, again, I'm not acknowledging that I'm a total expert on this particular game. I've just seen a couple of gameplay footage videos, but that's about it. So I like to keep myself kind of aware of the product, but also abstain from knowing too much about it, because then it kind of ruins the game for me to a certain extent. And if I can avoid it, then I'll try to avoid it. But, you know, if something happens, like a video pops up on my screen or something weird like that with the demo footage, then I'll probably watch it. But if it's on my own accord, I try to avoid that. But anyways, discussion about this game has been, well, it's going to be pretty much a graphic intensive game. Where's the gameplay? Where's the actual gameplay? I, for one, think it's going to be an awesome game just from the look of it, but also because I like the whole background, the setting, sort of this taking a lot of the tropes that come along with sort of the mystery surrounding the European age, where they are vampires, werewolves, stuff of that nature. A lot of the fairy tales stem from where you have these individuals that actually are acknowledging that these things exist at this particular time in history, and that there's actually a group out there fighting them. And I find that completely awesome, and I really look forward to this game. I don't expect this game to be sort of a game changer, but it's going to be a game that really kind of piques my interest in terms of story. And of course, the gameplay and graphics don't hurt either. Now we move on to my second most anticipated horror game. Until Dawn is sort of a mixture, from what I've seen so far, of the Walking Dead game series, where you can kind of choose your own adventure type deal, coupled with maybe Beyond Two Souls in terms of graphics. And it's a horror game in which these individuals I believe, are stuck in a cabin up in the mountains, and there's like this weird serial killer cult thing going on that they get entrapped into, which I find, of course, sort of cliche. Let's be honest, that's sort of a cliche narrative point that a lot of horror films have relied on for way too long, in my opinion. But the idea that you can kind of change the way the story moves and how certain characters live or die is something that I always find interesting. And I think it's going to be one of those games where people who are fans of the mega popular Walking Dead game series are going to find, sort of kind of, they can fit right into the mode of a player of these type of games, and kind of find Until Dawn a game that may not be too much in terms of gameplay. But the idea that you can kind of walk around, you kind of get enveloped in this mystery of what the heck is going on around you, and then you can kind of choose how you approach the story from your own perspective, is something that I really appreciate in games, and I wish they would do more of. But either or, this game is going to be a game that I'm definitely going to be buying on day one for the PS4. Now, my number one game of the list, if you've been following so far, oh yeah, and Until Dawn will be hopefully released in 2015. Now, going to my number one game, if you have been noticing so far, a lot of the games that I've already mentioned are coming out in 2015 or are proposed to be coming out in 2015, we hope. This game is actually going to be coming out in 2014, and it's a game that I'm really anticipating because it's sort of returning to the horror roots that I'm more accustomed to, sort of the original Resident Evils, original Alone in the Darks, those kind of games where it really gave you a sense that you are surviving amidst a huge bombardment of just scary, horrible monsters that want to kill you, murder you, maim you any way possible, and you have limited amount of ammo to fight them off. And this game is from Capcom, and it's called The Evil Within, and I'm pretty sure a lot of horror fans out there are at least somewhat familiar with this title. Now, I've seen a couple of trailers. I kind of refuse to watch actual gameplay footage of the game because I want to be totally surprised on day one. I've seen the two trailers. The first one was more like showing you scary stuff that's going on, and the second one was more psychological in nature with quick clips of what I'm supposedly gonna be playing through in the game. So we kind of find this individual who's kind of investigating this weird serial killing. I'm only assuming this because I don't know too much about it, but it's from Capcom. Shinji Mikami is going to be directing it. He's the original director of Resident Evil, I believe, the first Resident Evil, and a couple other Resident Evil games, I believe, too. So having a game that kind of returns to the roots of survival horror is something that I've always been wanting. I've always liked that kind of gameplay where it's like the original Resident Evil, where you have limited amount of ammo and you have to survive, which I think a lot of the later Resident Evil games stemming from Capcom have moved away from and kind of ventured more into the action/horror genre with a huge emphasis on action preceding that of horror. And now I kind of want to see that return back to where the horror precedes the action. and maybe even limit the action, just have it be strictly horror. So that's what I kind of want to see with The Evil Within, and from what I've seen from the trailers, it looks like it's going to be a scary romp through hell, which again is something that I really enjoy in games, and I really want to see kind of a lot of other games return to that formula. So those are my top 5 for 2014 and 2015. Now, I do have some honorable mentions, and I will be mentioning, no pun, but I will be kind of referring back to the honorable mentions as a way why they didn't make the list, as moments where I kind of really liked the title or really didn't like it, and then I kind of flipped and kind of said, okay, well, you know, I'll give this title a chance, and sort of the reasonings behind that, or put the title away, which unfortunately I had to do that for a lot of titles that didn't make the list. So honorable mentions are, first off, Alien Isolation. Now, for those who played Alien Marines or Colonial Marines, that game was just, I don't want to say it was bad, but it was really, really tough to get through. And it wasn't really a game that lived up to its expectations. And I think it's one of those titles where the expectations heavily outweighed the actual game when it came out. Like, people were anticipating this game to be like the definitive representation of what an Alien game should be like, you know, where you're part of a squadron and you have to go and kill these aliens, and you know, you get cut off from the rest of the crew, and you have to, it's just you and 4 or 5 other Marines just fighting for your life, you know, survival horror. What it turned out to be was just you're running around, graphical glitches, and the story had a cliffhanger that is probably never going to be resolved, and you know, it was just a total mess. So with Alien Isolation, I kind of see them returning back to this formula of you by yourself with the alien, and maybe there could be a couple humans here and there that are in your way at the kill, or they help you out, or they're just there for alien fodder, basically. That's the kind of game that I see of Alien Isolation, is that they're kind of returning back to making the idea that you're facing aliens scary, and not too much you have all this ammo and all this action going around where you can kill the aliens easily and you just fight hordes and hordes of aliens. This is actually returning back to the idea, to the notion that you are alone on a spaceship in which there's another alien life form on there with you that is hunting you at every turn, and there's no way to go, really, because you're in space, duh. So with that in mind, you know, Alien Isolation is a game that I'm kind of anticipating to a certain extent. I'm not going to say anything that it's going to be, you know, this game's awesome, it's so scary, just from the screenshots and from the trailer that I've seen. I don't really know. I mean, I like aliens, that's why it's kind of, I'm probably going to give the game a chance, but I'm still kind of wary about if it's going to be a game that I really want to play, or just a game that's like, when it comes out, it's like, I'll get around to it, I'll gamefly it eventually. Or do I want to get it day one? Alien Isolation is not a game that I want to buy or gamefly on day one. But of course that can change over the course of the time leading up to its release. Now, another honorable mention is Dead Island 2. Now, I played Dead Island 1. I unfortunately did not complete it all the way. I got pretty far in it. But Dead Island 2 looks to kind of be a game that kind of provides this open world, kind of like Dead Rising, which could be interpreted as a bad thing or a good thing depending on the player. But it's kind of a game where you have a lot to do, a lot of zombies to kill, and basically surviving. Now, from the rather hilarious trailer, I would say, it seems to be more like you're situated in, I don't know, I don't want to say it's sort of a cynical look at like the Hollywood, California lifestyle, but it kind of seems to be conveying that through the trailer, but in the vain lifestyle. But I think that game is going to be interesting. I'm not going to say it's going to be good or not, because I still haven't really seen a lot of footage from it, and I kind of, you know, I kind of want to avoid that stuff. But just from the premise alone, it seems you're not on an island, so that kind of, you know, why is it called Dead Island? But anyways, that's all semantics, and we shouldn't really be even talking about those kind of things in terms of buying a game. If I want to play it, I'll play it. But again, it's like Alien Isolation. I don't really want to buy it day one or gamefly. I have to kind of see more of it later on in terms of like, maybe there's going to be a demo coming out that I want to play. Then I'll kind of define my reasoning more, so if I want to buy it or just, you know, gamefly it or whatever. Thirdly is Resident Evil Revelations 2. which is another honorable mention. And it's also a game that is kind of returning back to the original roots of Resident Evil, kind of being more scary, more than action-y. And having played Resident Evil Revelations, the original, I think Part 2 is going to be equally, if not better than that. And that, again, like I was mentioning in my top 5 list, that I really like survival horror, where you are low on ammo, or you don't have any ammo at all, or maybe a 2x4 or something, or a screwdriver, and that's like really the only thing you have against a menacing horde of zombies, infected, chainsaw massacre, Leatherface type characters coming after you. And I think Resident Evil Revelations 2 has the horror setting pretty good, but also I think it could be questionable about if the game is going to be too much reliance, or have too much of a reliance on ammo and guns and all that stuff to fight all these weird monsters. And again, I like Resident Evil mainly for the more grounded enemies, such as zombies, you know, like zombie dogs, hunters, you know, stuff of that nature. I don't really like all this blue blob type weird melting human type stuff going on, because I think that's just kind of lame. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't really like some of the later Resident Evil, is because they had all these weird T-virus, G-virus type creations that just look like a big old blob of multiple enemies just throwing it together to kind of make the game, quote unquote, you know, really scary. But it didn't really end up that way for me, at least. So lastly, I have on my honorable mention list is Resident Evil HD Remake. Now, having played the original Resident Evil for PS1, and having played, completed that game, both characters, having played the Resident Evil Remake on GameCube with both characters, to have a Resident Evil, and I keep hearing people saying, you know, Resident Evil HD Remake, it's actually sort of a Resident Evil remake of a remake with high definition graphics and some other, of course, added features too. But it's sort of like it's already a remake of a remake, essentially. I mean, yeah, the graphics are going to be better and all that stuff, but the core gameplay is probably going to be similar, very similar to the original remake for GameCube. Of course, there's some added features in there, but again, this is a game that I'm still kind of wary about. I mean, I've already kind of played through Resident Evil 1 in multiple iterations, so to have a HD remake, I think is should be more applied to the individuals who haven't played Resident Evil in any shape or form, the original Resident Evil, and who pretty much only played Resident Evil from Resident Evil 4 on forward. And this is kind of a way for them to go back and say, or to play through the original, so they can kind of have an understanding of where the series stemmed from. But for individuals like myself, you know, I played through Resident Evil 1 multiple times on multiple systems, and to kind of go back and play it again, you know, I'm a little iffy about that. I mean, I do like Capcom's recent efforts to kind of return to the horror genre, but still, I'm not too sure about Resident Evil 1 HD Remake, or Resident Evil HD Remake, the title. And I'm kind of on the fence about that, but still, you know, time will tell if I really want to play that game or not. If, you know, maybe if I'm already played through certain titles I already mentioned, and then I kind of want to go back and play, oh, Resident Evil, you know, remake. Oh, okay, well, yeah, let's go through it again. I feel like a Resident Evil mood, you know. But again, I'm not too up on playing the game, but it is on my honorable mention list as a title that I'm interested in. So anyways, comment if you want to about your favorite top 5 titles that you may be interested in. Maybe some titles that weren't on the list, both in my top 5 form and my honorable mentioning, that you may want to bring up. Maybe there's a title that I forgot that if you bring up, maybe I'll be like, oh, I forgot about that title. Even though I did kind of you know, do some research on some of the titles that I did mention. There's always titles there that kind of slip by, and I would like to learn more about them if you bring them up. If not, that's cool. I'll eventually find out about the titles myself. But anyways, thanks for watching the video. This is New World Gamer, and I'll see everyone around. Yay! Later.